My coworker demanded I stay late to finish his work because I have a date, and you're not doing anything important anyway. When I refused, he told HR I was creating a hostile work environment. The HR rep called me in as I pulled up my timesheets and said, "Then let's compare who's actually working overtime here." So, I've been working at a tech company in downtown Chicago for the past 7 years. It's not a startup, not a big corporation either, just a medium-sized business with a few dozen employees. I'm in the IT support team, and our workload is steady but intense. The kind of job where you clock in, handle fires all day, and clock out wondering where the last 8 hours went. Enter Mike. Mike transferred from another department about 8 months ago. First impression? Seemed friendly enough. Late 30s, always talking about networking and how he's got connections. Pretty boy type, very into appearances. He wore cologne like he was going on a date every day, kept a comb on his desk, and checked his reflection in his screen when it went idle. I didn't have any reason to dislike him at first. But I noticed something after the first month. He barely did his own work. When issues came in, he'd mark them as in progress, but not touch them. If I didn't jump in, the tickets would sit there for days. We share a queue, and it got so bad that our supervisor quietly started forwarding critical issues directly to me. Still, I didn't complain. I figured either someone would notice or he'd get it together. One Friday, things boiled over. It was about 4:45 p.m. I was finishing up a ticket that had taken most of my afternoon, rebuilding a machine remotely for one of our execs who was stuck working from home. I had plans that night. Nothing wild, just dinner with my brother who was in town visiting from Michigan. We don't see each other often, so I was looking forward to it. Mike strolls up to my desk with this casual swagger and drops a thick folder on the edge of it. "Hey, man," he says. "Can you do me a solid and finish these reports?" I glance down at the folder. It's the weekly logs and compliance audit summaries we're all supposed to handle. His name is on every form. Why? He smirks. Got a hot date tonight. Real high-end restaurant. Been trying to land this girl for weeks. I look at him. "And you want me to stay late to do your work because you have a date?" "Come on," he says. "You're not doing anything important. You live alone, right?" That line hit a nerve. "Yeah, and I'm meeting someone tonight." "No, Mike. This is your responsibility." His tone shifts. Less casual now. "Seriously? It's just one night. I'd cover for you." I actually laughed. "When have you ever covered for me?" He stared at me like he didn't expect pushback. Then he grabbed the folder and walked off, muttering, "Whatever, man. Don't be a dick about it." I figured that was the end of it. Monday morning, I get into the office, check my email, and see a meeting invite from HR. No subject, just "please join me at 10:30 a.m." I had a bad feeling right away. At 10:30, I go to the HR office. Karen, the HR rep, waves me in and closes the door behind me. She has this tight smile and a folder in front of her. "Thanks for coming. I wanted to speak with you regarding a complaint we received on Friday." I'm already confused. "A complaint?" "Yes. Mike reported that you were uncooperative, dismissive, and contributed to what he described as a hostile work environment." My brain kind of short-circuited. I just sat there, blinking at her. "Do you want to tell me your side?" she asked. So I told her exactly what happened. Word for word. That he asked me to do his work, I said no, and he didn't like it. She nods like she's heard this before. "Do you have anything to support your version?" I had my laptop with me. I opened my timesheet app, pulled up the logs, showed her how I'd clocked extra hours nearly every week, and even showed her the emails and tickets I'd resolved that Friday, including the XX emergency support request. Then I asked, "Can we compare my overtime to his? Just to put this in perspective." She didn't say much after that. Just thanked me and said she'd follow up. The next few days were weird. Mike was quieter than usual. People in the office were polite, but distant. I could tell something had leaked. I didn't say anything about the HR meeting, but clearly, someone had. By Thursday, Mike was back to pretending everything was fine. But the trust was gone. Even people who used to joke around with him started treating him like he had a disease. A week later, Karen called me in again. She said they were doing a performance review on Mike based on some internal feedback. Nothing final yet, just letting me know they were aware of a pattern. But here's where things started getting darker. I found out later that Mike had done this before. Not the same exact thing, but similar. At his last department, he accused another coworker of emotional intimidation after she called him out for slacking. That person left the company. Mike got transferred instead of being fired. The only reason I even found out was because the woman he tried it with before, Marissa, reached out to me. She still had friends in our building. She said, "Watch your back. He doesn't take being told no very well." At this point, I started documenting everything. Every interaction. Every email. I even set up a private folder at home where I kept copies, just in case. Mike started getting more passive-aggressive. Nothing major, just things like accidentally forgetting to copy me on important emails or sending tickets my way that should have gone to someone else. All small enough that calling it out would make me look petty. I kept my head down. Worked harder. Said nothing. Then came the final push. One morning, I came in to find my desk covered in sticky notes. All blank. Just dozens of them, stuck to my monitor, keyboard, chair, even my coffee mug. There was no way to prove who did it. Cameras don't cover that corner of the office. But I knew it was him. And from the look on his face when I walked past him, he knew I knew. I didn't clean it up right away. I took photos first. Sent them to HR, didn't accuse him. Just said I found it strange and unprofessional and was concerned it might escalate. HR called me in. This time, they had a different tone. And that's where I'll stop for now. I went back to my desk after that HR meeting, feeling more wired than angry. Mike wasn't even trying to be slick anymore. The sticky notes thing was childish, but what worried me was the timing. HR already had him under review, and this felt like a last, desperate swing. By the next week, things started shifting fast. First, I noticed he stopped showing up to the morning meetings. No heads up, no message in Slack, nothing. Just empty seat. Then, weird rumors started floating around. Someone said he was working on a special project with management, which made no sense because there was no such project. Another person said he was helping Karen improve HR systems. I didn't believe that for a second. Mike didn't know the first thing about HR software. He couldn't even use the new ticketing system without asking me 5 times. One morning, I got called into the director of IT's office, James. Good guy. Keeps to himself, but he's sharp. He said, "Just wanted to check in. I've been hearing a lot of noise." About what? He gave me a long look. You and Mike. I nodded. Yeah, it's been a mess. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk. I've reviewed the logs. Your numbers speak for themselves. You've been carrying more than your share. But Mike, he's playing a different game. James told me something I didn't expect. Mike had filed a second complaint. This time, he claimed I was engaged in behavior designed to sabotage his work and reputation. That one hit hard. James told me not to worry, that they were handling it. But hearing the words out loud, knowing he was trying to bury me completely, it made me snap in a way I hadn't before. So I did something I never thought I'd have to do in a job like this. I went through every support ticket, every message, every system access log I could find, back 3 months. I started building a personal timeline. Every time Mike claimed he was working on something, I checked the system to see if he actually logged into it. Spoiler, most times he didn't. I found whole days where he didn't do anything but respond to 2 emails. I found tickets he marked as resolved that were never touched. One client had submitted the same issue 3 times because it kept getting closed without action. Guess whose name was on the resolution? Mike's. It wasn't just laziness. It was fraud. I put together a report. No commentary. Just facts. Screenshots, timestamps, logs, and side-by-side comparisons. I didn't even put my name on it. I sent it anonymously to James and Karen through the internal feedback tool, where things can be submitted without a trace. A week passed. No word, but I noticed Mike started getting really twitchy. He stopped talking during lunch. He wasn't strutting through the office like usual. One day, I caught him in the break room just staring at his phone like he was waiting for something terrible to drop. Then it got weirder. Someone from finance, Carla, told me she had a conversation with Mike, said he claimed he was being targeted by someone jealous of his future here. He was floating a whole conspiracy now, like this was some office version of House of Cards. A few days later, there was an email blast, standard looking. Just said there'd be system maintenance starting Friday night and continuing through the weekend. No big deal. But Friday morning, before any of that started, we had a surprise all-hands meeting. James stood at the front of the conference room. Karen was next to him. They didn't look angry. They looked tired. James said, "We take integrity very seriously here. Recent internal audits showed some inconsistencies in how certain support activities have been handled. We're taking steps to ensure transparency moving forward." No names were mentioned. No direct finger-pointing. But Mike wasn't at the meeting. That afternoon, around 2 p.m., security showed up. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just two guys in plain clothes walking straight to Mike's desk. He wasn't there. A few minutes later, he came in from the elevators with a coffee in his hand. He looked up, saw them, and froze. They walked him to his desk. He didn't sit. Just stood there, hands on his hips while one guy pulled a box from under his arm. Mike looked at us, everyone staring in silence, and gave this half smile like he was still trying to play it cool. He packed fast. 30 minutes. No words. Not even a look at me. As they walked him out, I watched him hesitate at the door like he wanted to say something. He didn't. That weekend, I got a call from a restricted number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Mike. His message was short. "You think you won, but this isn't over." That was 3 weeks ago. Yesterday, someone from IT security asked me to review a list of logins on one of our old servers. Nothing special. Just clean up stuff before we decommission the box. I recognized one username that shouldn't have been there. It was Mike's. And the login was from last week. I went straight to James the next morning. Told him what I saw in the server logs. He looked at the sheet, saw Mike's username, and frowned like he'd bitten into something sour. "That server should have been locked," he said. "All ex-employee credentials were supposed to be wiped." I asked, could it be someone reactivating it by mistake? He shook his head. "No. Only 3 people have access to this list. Me, Carla in finance, and IT security." He pulled up the internal access logs. Sure enough, the user logged in for about 7 minutes. No major downloads, no config changes. But 7 minutes is a long time for someone who isn't supposed to be there. And then, right after that timestamp, a strange email went out from one of the shared inboxes we keep for vendor communication. The email had no body, no subject, just one attachment. It was a spreadsheet. The same spreadsheet I'd compiled and submitted anonymously. The access timestamp on the email matched the unauthorized login exactly. That was when it clicked. Someone inside the company gave Mike access. Someone had gone into the feedback folder, dug out my report, and sent it to him. Probably thought they were doing him a favor, or they were scared of him. Either way, it wasn't over. James stared at the logs and didn't say anything for a long time. Then he stood up and said, "This stays between us. I'll take it from here." That was 2 days ago. Yesterday, Carla didn't come to work. No out-of-office message. No sick leave request. Today, her name was gone from the email directory. Just gone. I bumped into Greg, one of the guys from IT security, and casually asked if Carla had left the company. He gave me a look. "You didn't hear? She got walked out yesterday afternoon. Internal audit caught something off with her system access permissions." I didn't ask more. Didn't have to. Carla was the leak. She's the one who accessed the anonymous folder. And she's the one who sent the report to Mike. Why? I don't know. Maybe he manipulated her. Maybe they had something going on. Or maybe she just thought he got a raw deal. But here's where it gets darker. Last night, I got a text from an unknown number. No name. Just, "They know what you did. You should have stayed in your lane." I froze. I haven't told anyone. Not James. Not HR. Not even my brother. The only reason I didn't delete it was because I wanted to trace it. This morning, I asked a friend who works in cybersecurity to help me trace the number. He said it bounced through 2 VoIP services and an anonymous texting app. Not easily trackable. But he noticed something weird. The IP tied to the message was tagged in a known list of corporate Wi-Fi networks. The network? Our company's guest Wi-Fi. So someone sent that message from inside the building. After Mike was fired. After Carla got walked out. There's still someone here. I didn't sleep that night. I kept looking at that message on my phone. Over and over. It wasn't just creepy, it felt like a threat. Someone inside the company was still helping Mike. And now they wanted me scared. They thought I'd back down. I wasn't going to. The next morning, I showed the message and IP trace to James. He didn't even blink. Just leaned back in his chair and said, "We've got a bigger problem." He pulled out a folder and handed it to me. Inside were printed screenshots, Slack messages, email threads, access logs. All traced to Carla's terminal after she'd been removed from the system. Meaning someone else used her machine. Or cloned her profile. But the thing that hit me hardest? A list of employees from the IT department. Next to each name was a label, loyal, maybe, no. Next to mine, terminate if needed. I just sat there staring at that word. Terminate. Not talk to, not warn. Terminate. James said, this wasn't just Mike acting alone. We think he built something. A little network of people who were either too lazy or too scared to speak up. Carla wasn't the only one. She was just the one we caught. It turned out Mike had been collecting dirt on people. Small stuff, but enough to scare a few of them. Screenshots of coworkers venting in Slack. Calendar screenshots showing someone leaving early. Emails complaining about managers. He'd been sitting on it for months. When he was fired, he used that info to blackmail at least 3 people into helping him keep access to company systems. He promised revenge, promotions, a seat at the table if they helped him get back in. Most of it was lies, but a few people were dumb or desperate enough to believe him. And the worst part? The person who re-enabled his login? The one who gave him access after his account was shut down? It was Greg. Greg from IT security. The same guy I had talked to about Carla. The same guy who told me she was gone. James found him using an internal admin override. He had full access. He thought he was untouchable. They fired him quietly. No scene. Just a locked laptop and a badge collection. But it wasn't over. James asked me if I wanted to be part of the internal investigation team. Not officially, just helping them understand how deep this thing went. I said yes. I figured, if someone wanted me out this bad, I had to see it through. We dug for weeks. We found out Mike had downloaded hundreds of internal documents before he left. We found out he had fake credentials created for 2 other people in the company. He was setting up a backdoor, trying to make himself a permanent ghost in our system. The final blow came when we traced an IP address trying to ping our backup servers. Guess where it was coming from? His new job. That's right. Mike got hired by a startup in Milwaukee. Used a fake reference and fake project logs to land the role. The same guy who couldn't fix a printer without help was now listed as lead systems engineer on their website. So we made a call. James contacted their head of security. Told them, off the record, that they should check their system access logs. Didn't accuse Mike of anything, just suggested a review. It took them 4 hours to find out he'd already tried to install a remote access tool on one of their servers. They fired him the same day. But I wasn't done. I sent him a message. From my work email. Just one line. Still think I'm not doing anything important? He never replied. But 2 days later, I got another text. Same anonymous number. Hope it was worth it. That one? I traced again. It didn't come from inside the building. It came from a public library in Milwaukee. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. But here's the truth. I wasn't completely innocent. I let things slide for too long. I let Mike dump work on me. I let the stress build up until I snapped. And yeah, when I sent that report in anonymously, I wanted revenge as much as justice. But I'd do it again. Because sometimes doing the right thing still means you get dirty. But letting people like Mike win? That's worse.